This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon, Rabbi Glatstein. We're completing this inyan of Yerushalayim versus Tzfas, the restoration of Semicha, which was innovated by Rabbi Yaakov Barav. Last week we discussed the complaints of the Mahalbach, Rav Levi ben Yaakov ibn Chabiv. We learned through the Radvaz's Tainus and his kashas on the restoration of Semicha, which primarily they were four. Number one, that the Rambam himself, who innovated this concept, the Rambam himself was not so decisive, because the Rambam concludes v'hadavar tzarech hechra. The Rambam says this matter still needs clarification. Number two, the Rambam says you need the consensus of all the Chachamim, and without the Chachmei Yerushalayim, you don't have the consensus of all the Chachamim, specifically when it comes to Inyonei Psak, where it says Ki mitzion teitzei Torah halacha needs to emanate from Tzion, from Yerushalayim. And the Malbach said that even if you want to say you follow the Rav, you only follow the Rav if everyone sat together, and then you follow the Rav. But if you only take the Rav and they convene, when you know there's a miyad of people who are protesting, that's not called following the Rav. The miyad never participated in the deliberations. And even if you're going to bring in the miyad after the fact, well, the Rav has already made up its mind. There's no point in bringing in the miyad after the fact. Also, the Malbach was afraid that by reinstituting the original Sanhedrin, it would obviate the need for Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golios, and it would bring the calendar back to Al Pi Re'iyah, which he was afraid would abolish the Minhag Avosenu B'Yadeinu. So let's see in number 16, the response of the Malbach to some of the tainus of the response of, the Maribei Rav to the Malbach. This comes from, this is, what again, number 15?
Ir
HaKodesh V'HaMikdash. Number 15 on your sheets. Number 1, regarding that which the Malbach said, that the Rambam says, Shahadavar Tzarech Hechra. Says Maribei Rav, you don't know how to read the Rambam. The Rambam was not going back on the ability to restore Semicha. The Rambam is going back on a different halacha. And namely, that is, that if you only have one of the three members of the court with original Semicha, that's good enough. To which the Rambam says that matter needs Hechra. But regarding the main issue at hand, whether you're allowed to restore the Semicha, that the Rambam writes in the Parish HaMishnayos definitively that it is permitted to do. Number 2, when the Rambam says you need to get all the Chachamim, the supporters of the Semicha said the Rambam doesn't mean every single last Chacham. What are you going to do? You're going to go knock on the doors. Oh, by the way, are you a Chacham? Are you a secret Chacham? You'll never get everybody. So all you need is Rav. So you don't have, the Rambam said everyone. Ruba Kukula. And it seems like Rabbi Chiyam Mechatikachinski writes, even the Malbach was not so sure you need everybody, but the Malbach's main taina was that you don't need it. You need everyone to be there in the deliberations. But the Maribei Rav says, no, the same way you agree that you could follow the Rav if the majority agrees to the process, so the Maribei Rav said the same way you could follow the Rav, you could originally only convene with the Rav. Regarding, and he brings down, and this we mentioned last week, why they didn't join in the Malbach in the process to begin with, because they knew the Malbach would not be a fan of this, would not support this. So better not to get started with the trouble from the Malbach in the first place. Let's get the ball started, let's get the ball rolling, and if he has tainus, he has tainus. But if he's going to come with questions before we even get this all, started, it will never take off. And regarding what the Malbach was worried about, that they're going to restore Kiddush HaChodesh to Al Pi Re'iyah, Maribei Rav said that was never my intention. I have no intention of abolishing Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golios. And these were the responses of the Mahalbach to the questions of the Maribei Rav.
How did he justify saying, I have no intention? Once he establishes an entrance, it doesn't matter what his intention was anymore. The Sanhedrin can ultimately decide.
So I guess he had the confidence that since he's the leader of the Sanhedrin, he will only take it to where he feels it's needed at the present moment. Which Maribe Rav said, what do you mean? Like you're saying, if you establish a Sanhedrin, then Al Pi Midai Raisa, Sanhedrin is mechuyev to restore the Kiddush HaChodesh to the way it was. So take a look. We're going to conclude with this in number 20. The Machlokes finally is settled, and we're going to learn. If you read in most books, most people think the reason why the Machlokes settled is because, they couldn't stand up to the accusations and the questions of Malbach. They were very afraid of all of his kashas, and therefore, they didn't want to start with the process. It's b'chlal not true. First of all, they did start with the process. Maribe Rav gave smicha to at least 4 people, according to one account to 10 people, including the Beis Yosef himself, who even the Beis Yosef then continued the smicha to, I believe, the Alshech and Reb Chaim Vital. So it did continue, and it didn't stop because they were worried about what they were thinking in Yerushalayim. It stopped because the government came and scattered Klal Yisrael. Many of these Gedolim had to flee from Tzfas, had to flee Eretz Yisrael. Once you're not in Eretz Yisrael, you can no longer continue to give smicha, and because of the Pizor, it was not able to continue. Let's take a look at number 20.
It's 19.
19, thank you. Haplukta bein Ma'abach bein Maribe Rav. The argument, the dispute between Ma'abach and Maribe Rav, Shabashaita Mitilak Tzas Mavucha, that during their period it was great confusion. It was V'netztarif l'Ma'abach oidecha migdal Yishayim. You should know that there were others who agreed with Ma'abach. One was, namely, Harav Yitzchak Dixtera, and also no relation. V'gam Haradvaz Shahaya Az b'Mitzrayim. The Radvaz, who at the time was in Egypt, tzided l'Ma'abach, like we learned. Hine la'achar shanim achadois nishtaka machlokes. After a number of years, the machlokes subsided. Ve'im ki nimshcha smicha karv l'shnei yov le'shanim. Smicha continued for approximately 100 years. V'yad leftiras Rabbeinu Chaim Vital, and until the death of Rabbeinu Chaim Vital, le'nishma oid machos v'urim. For many years, we didn't hear one word of protest. And even the Radvaz, he came to Tzfas, he didn't say anything. He was very influential. In Egypt, he spoke out. He comes to Tzfas, he doesn't say anything. He made peace with the situation. Umaran HaBeis Yosef she'al shulchan ha'oichlem hevi lahalacha divrei Rambam choshen mishmat. Shulchan Aruch brings the words of the Rambam lahalacha about that it's possible to reinstate this. V'chein hevi divrei Rambam hasma uvetshuvasi laharav hagon Reb Tzvi Mikovsky Zatzal shehedfisa b'sifrei. He printed in his sefer. It says Rabbi Chiel Michal, I have a raya from the Rambam in Hilchos Tkei HaShofar, because there in the Rambam in Hilchos Tkei HaShofar he's speaking about nowadays, and he writes, they didn't blow in a place of Bezdin on Shabbos. What's the Rambam talking about Bezdin? But you need a Bezdin Samach. The Rif holds you don't need a Bezdin Samach, but the Rambam holds you need a Bezdin Samach. If you need a Bezdin Samach, what's the Rambam telling me about the halacha of when you do or don't blow in front of Bezdin? There is no Bezdin Samach b'zman hazeh. The answer is the Rambam clearly holds that it's possible to restore smicha even b'zman hazeh. The reason smicha ended, like others think, it's because of the constant attacks of the Arabs. They oppressed us to collect taxes, to collect fines. They made up accusations. And life in Eretz Yisrael at the time, in the end of the 16th century, became impossible, and therefore we had to scatter. Now, says Rabbi Chiel Michal Tikachinsky, but nowadays we could gather all the rabbis in Israel and get unanimous opinion, right? So he says, even if you want to conclude that the Rambam had no doubts And you want to accept the words of the Rambam halacha. The Rambam himself admits that the reality of such a situation is very unlikely. Because the Rambam asks, if it's so easy to reinstate Smicha, what's Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava risking his life that the Goyim should pierce him and his Talmidim run away? We'll just bring it back. The Rambam is saying, even though it's possible to bring it back, but if it would be practical, the answer is what? That the Rambam is saying that it's really not so practical, it's really not so likely. And that's why the Rambam says in Pirs HaMishnayos, that when will we be able to reinstate Smicha? The Rambam doesn't say like this. The Rambam doesn't say, you know when we're going to be able to reinstate Smicha? When we're going to have the fortunate opportunity to get the unanimous decision and agreement of all the Chacham. The Rambam says this is going to happen prior to the coming of Mashiach. Why does the Rambam say this will only happen before Mashiach? The Rambam should say this will happen, at the right time. The answer is because the likelihood of any other period in history of everyone getting together to agree to this is very unlikely. Just one last paragraph. The Rambam doesn't mean mifuzarim, you have one chacham in Africa, one chacham in Europe, one chacham in Williamsburg. What the Rambam means is eina kavanah shemifuzar begoila, because obviously we don't care if someone's in Chutz La'aretz, he has no say in the matter. He's not considered one of the chachamim for this inyan. Mufuzar doesn't mean in location. Mufuzar means in opinion. The mefuzar b'deyos. This chacham has one opinion on the matter. That chacham has another opinion. The various ideas and opinions that the chacham have about this are impossible to consolidate. Even the Rambam, even if he meant it lahalacha, he understood that it ain't happening until ad bias goyal tzedek, and therefore what we need here is the consensus of all the chachamim. But it's possible that rubai kakulai. Now, smicha bezman hazel, when a guy says he has smicha, says Raman Yoradan Siman Reish Membez, smicha bezman hazeh is just a formality. It has no halachic meaning. Smicha just means that if a person is paskening, it's with the permission of his Rebbe. But until then, we wait for the great day of Shiva, Sheftayach Varishayna, the Tzach Kavatchila, and then Yerushalayim will be called the Er HaTzedek, and we'll be Zaycha to have the true Smicha B'Vias Gayot.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.